back to the Local Government People's Program. My name is Adam Spagnolo, and I'm very happy to have you watching, and for those of you that are listening, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm also very happy today to have with me in the studio Mr. Jack Garber. Jack is a candidate for the Hammersley ward of the City of Stirling. The City of Stirling Council elections coming up very, very shortly. In fact, postal voting papers will be received in your mailbox over the next couple of weeks. And once you receive those, you probably have about a week or so to complete those documents and return them to the West Australian Electoral Commission. Well, Jack, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Adam. Good to be here.
That's great. Jack, you've been going to a few council meetings lately, finding out what's happening at the City of Stirling. Anything of interest coming up?
Well, there are a number of things of interest, Adam, actually. I'm glad you brought it up. In fact, just last night, there were several incidents of ratepayers asking questions of the mayor. And last night, by the way, the mayor wasn't present. It was the acting mayor, Keith Sargent, the deputy mayor, presided over the proceedings. And the one thing I have to say is the atmosphere was a lot cooler and calmer to begin with. There wasn't the same...
No aggression?
No aggression, and giving credit where credit is due. Keith did a very decent job in conducting the proceedings.
And I think that's the way you need to conduct council meetings. You need to be rational, you need to be listening. How's that old saying go, Jack? God created us with one mouth and two ears, twice as much listening as talking, and give people a chance to talk. And I guess that's what Keith did.
Yeah, I think he did a admirable job.
Okay.
It wasn't a perfect job, but it was an admirable job compared to the typical meeting. But
so what are the issues, Jack?
What really concerns me is the responses received to ratepayer questions by officers. They continue to try to brush issues under the carpet. There are false half-truths in answering questions.
But how can you say that, Jack? How do you know they're false? Give me an example.
Biggest example I have appears in the minutes of the last meeting, Adam.
Okay.
And this is something that you're familiar with.
Oh, what have I done this time?
Well, you've reported on this radio show that you were in campaigning in the City of Stirling on one occasion, and you were the first on the scene to an accident involving the mayor's car.
Yes, that's right.
And that question came up at council meeting on the 4th of September, I believe was the actual meeting. That response was published in the agenda for last night, where a ratepayer, Roland Hadley, asked the question pertaining to the mayor's vehicle recently involved in a car accident. And the response from...
So the question was the mayor's vehicle involved in a car accident? Is that what you're saying?
It's close to that.
Okay. Yep.
It actually involved the license plates, that's customized license plates.
Okay.
It's in a roundabout.
So the answer was?
And the answer is, the city vehicle utilized by the mayor has not been involved in an accident.
Oh, that's just not true. I mean, I was actually there when it occurred. In fact, I actually heard the impact of the vehicle hitting a pedestrian. So to say that, it's totally false, and I think that they need to review that.
Well, somebody's acting without integrity.
Absolutely.
And someone is attempting to cover up the truth, aren't they?
Yeah, look, the matter's been reported to the police. The police were in attendance. They in fact checked for CCTV. In addition to that, an ambulance came along to the scene and took the victim away. So to say that the mayor's vehicle has not been involved in an accident or a vehicle accident is totally false and untrue.
The other thing that came up last night, which I just find utterly amazing, and that is that the City of Stirling has spent $57 million on a swimming pool complex at
Scarborough. Yep.
A question came up last night by a ratepayer to the director of the community, what the capacity of that complex will be. In other words, at any one time, how many people can enjoy the facility.
Sure, and that's a pretty legitimate question in my view.
Very legitimate question. And the director of community couldn't answer the question, deferred to Parks and Recreation manager, and that Park and Recreation manager had to take the matter under submission to be answered at a later date. If you spend $57 million on the project, and
you'd have to have some idea.
You've brought that recommendation before council. You've asked council to vote on the information and knowledge that you're providing to them. You would think someone would know what the capacity of the facility is.
Yes, yes.
The question went on to be asked, and that is, why do you have in the budget a $250,000 budget for opening advertising for the project? And now it falls squarely on the fact that why are you spending $250,000 if you're going to fill up the facility if you don't know the capacities?
Exactly.
Of it?
That's a little bit like putting the cart before the horse, I would suggest. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's quite scandalous, to be perfectly honest with you, Jack.
And just again, with officers avoiding questions, not answering questions directly, I asked a question relating to the opening of the Careen Hall, which is a troubled project in the city of Careen. The original contractor went broke. It's taken 4 or 5 years to complete this particular project.
Yes.
Now, last week, just ahead of the quiet period, before the elections, where we go into caretaker mode, they rushed through an opening, which turned out to be a political stop for my opponent in the Hammersley ward. Mm-hmm. What concerned me is, and the only reason I found out about it, was 3 other councillors called me to alert me to the fact that the Careen Hall had a grand opening, and none of the other councillors were invited other than Samantha Jenkins and Mayor Italiano.
That's quite extraordinary. Look, my experience with councils is that any function, any opening, any civic happening, an invitation is extended to all of the directors of the organisation, in this case the councillors. Right. I think when you're only going to invite 2 people who are part of that directorship or council, you'd have to say it sort of smacks of some political bias, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the officer responding to the question actually said that it doesn't happen. Now, all the other
what doesn't happen?
Council as a whole is not invited to.
That's just not true. That's just not true.
Absolute lie.
Yeah.
Confirmed by at least 3 other councillors. You're a former councillor there, and mayor there. Mm-hmm. You know.
Absolutely, it's just not the way you do business. No. And why would you just single out a couple of the councillors and not involve all of the councillors? I mean, everybody contributed in debate, contributed in voting to this particular facility proceeding, and then, of course, to insult them by not inviting them, I think that's extraordinary.
Yes, it is. Look, what really bothers me is that the local government rules preclude the councillors from
speaking up,
from really endorsing candidates during an election period. We have the mayor endorsing your opponent.
Yes.
Clearly endorsing him on his Facebook page.
Yes.
We have the city of Sterling has has run an advertisement paid for by the city of Sterling
For a candidate?
for a candidate.
That's scandalous. My
2
God.
days, that published 2 days before the caretaker mode goes into effect. Now, this is in a publication that lasts for 7 days.
Yes.
Again, when this was questioned, the officer in charge said, it's well within the guidelines for publications.
Well, I would disagree with that, Jack. I would suggest to you that all of the items that you've just outlined are in contravention of the Local Government Act. Clearly, it's been breached because my understanding of the Act is that that's not permitted, and clearly it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah. Look, we'll be back very shortly with more local government issues in this particular case about the City of Stirling, and we look forward to you joining us in just a few moments.